Hey guys, TC here. Look, I am watching some of the press coverage yesterday from Asmongold. Mayor Bass was on there. She brought out the mayor of Paramount and this guy Arturo from Huntington Beach. And they're trying to pull at the heartstrings of the people by saying things like, oh, well, these are all Americans here. Yeah, technically, if you live on the North American, South American, Central American continent, this Western Hemisphere is the Americas. Right? Canadians are Americans. But when you say American, it means the United States, right? But they're trying to use that distinction. It's disingenuous language. It's bullshit. It's what it is. They are not citizens of these United States, and they're not supposed to be here. And that's a problem. See, none of this would be happening in California and soon to be other sanctuary states and cities if these governors and mayors were not in open rebellion against the United States. Because that's what it is. The concept of a sanctuary state or city is, in fact, an act of rebellion. It's illegal. You don't get that luxury to not follow laws in the United States. You're not the federal government, and you do not have judicial supremacy. Sorry. And what has essentially happened is that states, California's the big one, right? They're the most populous state in the union. They have basically dictated immigration policy from Sacramento to Washington, D.C. by incentivizing people to come to the United States illegally. And the other border states, like Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas, are having to deal with the ramifications of that, right? Because they're not all just going to California. They're going all over the border. But they are the ones providing the incentive and also money to the NGOs to facilitate the people in their caravans northward. That's a problem. That is an open act of rebellion. They should be, Governor Newsom and Mayor Karen Bass should be arrested for sedition. This has got to stop. These are not American citizens. We have an actual fair, lawful immigration process. And just because you really, really, really want something so bad doesn't mean you just go out there and take it. It's not yours. And part of the problem is that a lot of these migrants' heads got filled with nonsense from NGOs like La Raza, or The Race, and other racial, call it what it is, racist organizations. Oh, this land was stolen. It's our land. No, it wasn't. It was conquered. It was conquered and then lawfully purchased when it was sued for peace. We conquered Mexico back in the 1850s. It was the last major war prior to our Civil War. We occupied Mexico City for 9 months. We defeated Santa Anna. And in that process, we purchased the territory north of the Rio Grande called Del Norte, which is now New Mexico, Arizona, and up into California. The whole swath of territory. We purchased it from Santa Anna. And we gave them fair market value. Not only that, but we were magnanimous enough to say that the Mexican nationals already occupying that land will now become American citizens. So no, our racist ancestors didn't just go there and purge the people from the land and kick them across the border, right? No, we didn't do that. He said, all right, look, we won the territory. We're going to pay you for it, and we did. We paid you a fair price for it, and then we're going to have the people already living there become Americans. And we did. We honored that agreement. Fast forward, 170 years later, and they're still thinking it's their land. No, it hasn't been your land for. It's been our land a lot longer now than it had been part of Mexico. And let's not forget that the claims that Mexico took over were primarily from the Spanish conquistadors that were doing the explorations. And yeah, anybody can go out and plant a flag in a piece of land and say, hey, this is our land now, and we claim it. Problem is, they didn't tame the land. They didn't pacify the natives. The natives, you didn't ask the Comanche, the Apache, and the Pueblo, and all the rest of the tribes living in the area. I'm not sure if the Sioux. I'm not an expert on the Indian tribe. What I'm saying is, the natives that were already out there did not recognize themselves as being part of Mexico or Spain or France, for that matter, because the French took over Mexico after Spain. Anywho, you can claim a lot of stuff, but if you can't back up the claim because there's not enough people out there to settle the territory. So, yeah, these sprawling cities that we have right now, we built that. When we took it over, there were literally small pueblos. There were little villages. LA wasn't LA. LA was basically a mission church and a village of people. It wasn't the urban sprawl that you see today with all the infrastructure that we built. All right, so cut the crap. The Hispanic people that were already there became American citizens. People coming across the border now, if you're not part of their families, you don't have any claim, man. And that's even stretching it back then, because like I said, it's been a whole minute since we took that place over. So it needs to stop. It needs to stop. Del Norte is the United States, and the people coming in trying to justify that it's their territory anyway. You're going home. You're going home. You may not like it. For the life of me, I've never seen so many people waving their home country's flag, fighting so hard not to be forced to go back home. I mean, that's the damnedest thing I have ever seen. And let's be real about it. If a population of a country or a nation was primarily made of these people, and they're acting like this, saying where they came from is so great, then why are they all second and third world countries? And they can't get out of their own way. Why is it like that? You have all these assholes coming from abroad, waving their flags and talking about how great it was for where they came from. Well, then why the hell did you come over here if it was so great where you were at? Right? You can have your pride and your ancestral pride and all that, but let's not mince words. You're a bunch of bumblefucks that can't get out of each other's way to form a proper civilization without fucking it up. You're not equipped. Sorry, not sorry. I mean, I hate to be like that, but it's just like a lot of these countries in Central and South America have been around as long, or if not longer, than the United States because of the Spanish. And they keep adopting stupid-ass governments like socialism that devolve into communism. And I'm gonna give you some examples of that. All right, if you're with me this long, I'm going to give you some examples. The country of Argentina, prior to Juan Perón and Eva, Eva, don't cry for me, Argentina, that dumb bitch. Prior to them taking power, Argentina's economy was on par with the United States. They had a lot of the gold. Now, it might have been because they were backed by Nazi and Confederate gold. But they had it, and their economy was strong. They were on par with the United States at that time, until Juan Perón and Eva took control, started implementing socialist policies and as a dictatorship, and then everything went down the crapper. Ditto with Venezuela. Venezuela had a very strong economy, a lot of freedoms. It was nothing like it is today, but they voted in, for some stupid reason, Hugo Chavez, and everything went down the shitter. Because he was a dyed-in-the-wool communist, and he started nationalizing whole swaths of industries in Venezuela. They were a one-trick pony with oil and gas, and he, since he confiscated the infrastructure that foreign investors had invested in Venezuela, there was capital flight, and eventually the infrastructure started failing because you have to have parts and maintenance, and you can't get parts to repair shit as it breaks because nobody wants to invest in your country, and oil prices tanked because there's too much, we all live through it, right? Oil prices went tits up, Venezuela went tits up, and they couldn't get people to come back to invest to fix shit because they had already illegally confiscated all of that property. So prior to Hugo Chavez, Venezuela was a thriving, burgeoning economy. They enjoyed a lot of freedoms, and it was, by all accounts, a fairly nice place to live. You can look at what happened to Chile. They implemented a bunch of socialist policies. It took Pinochet to go in there, and that's where you famously see him pictures of communists being yeeted out of helicopters, and saving Chile from socialism. And him doing so actually revitalized Chile, and they were, I believe, the third or fourth strongest economy for a while. It was behind the United States, Canada, and I'm not sure if they were doing better than Mexico or not. They were either third or fourth. For a country that size, that's not bad. They've only recently started getting backsliding in the socialist policies, and they're dealing with riots now, where they were a couple of years ago, because they were having to increase the cost of the bus fare, like the public transit, and people were losing their mind. So Pinochet, by yeeting the communists, actually saved Chile, but now he's been gone for a while, and now they're kind of backsliding, and of course now they're having problems because socialism at the end is an evil ideology, and it's inevitable how your country is going to react, because it's detrimental, hugely detrimental to your economy and your way of life. You take any idea that sounds good on paper, but every time you implement it, it's always a bad and murderous outcome. Then implementing it at this point is just plain evil, because you already know what the outcome's going to be. It's going to be abject misery and failure. So that's why I call it an evil ideology, because it is. Every single time it's implemented, it results in people dying, your economy's tanking, mass unemployment, and usually followed by murderous rampages and famines. Time and time and time and time again. So, yeah, there you go. It's not that Latin America doesn't have anything going for it. It's not that they couldn't make it. They're just choosing failure on purpose. And then when it inevitably falls on its face, they want to come up here, because we do have a thriving economy, even though we do have bumps in the road. But in the end, we march through it, and we get to the next cycle, economically speaking. Excuse me. So there you go. I know some of you guys love these little history lessons, and I know a particular person is going going to be spurting out about, oh my God, people could choose socialism. Yeah, you can choose it, I guess, but realize that at this point, it's no different than being a Nazi or a communist. All right? And I'm going to stick by that. Nazism, fascism, and communism, their foundational core principles are what? Socialism. Socialism is an evil ideology. It is nothing but misery and failure wrapped up with a little pink bow to entice people to keep unwrapping the damn thing. It's stupid. Anywho, to circle back, what's happening in California is, again, a self-inflicted wound. They're in open rebellion. Again, the Confederates are back, but now they're on the West Coast. And again, the federal government is having to send out the military to quell it. Because it turns out you can't just do whatever the hell you want when you have other people in the consideration that you're working with as in a partnership to form the more perfect union. You have to follow the laws. And that includes immigration policy. And that means these people have to go home because they've allowed so many to come in that it is having a deleterious effect on our economy and our way of life. And it is what it is. Back when it was small numbers and manageable, a lot of people turned a blind eye. Now when they hear about the 80 guerrillion, it's a problem. It's a damn problem. And now we're having to address it. Now we're going to have to take draconian measures because people, and I say people, I mean Sacramento, look the other way as far as enforcing the laws. But their mess is spilling across the borders of California to the rest of the United States, and now we're going to have to go clean it up. And the leaders are going to have to be arrested, and new leaders are going to have to be installed, just like the carpetbaggers had to be installed after Reconstruction. So it is what it is. They screwed up. They bit off more than they could chew, and now they're getting spanked. And the mess, we're going to clean the mess up. And that's what I got to say about it. You guys take care. TC out.